Hey guys, this is HDGW2. My name is Rapsac, and you're joining us here for the stress test on the 27th of June. So right now we're down under in Australia, and so it's a lovely 3-4 a.m. right now. So please excuse me if I'm a little bit tired. Anyway, this video is about my Death Shroud oriented Necromancer PvP build. So I just want to let you guys know it's not really a professional build or anything by that sort of mean. It's more of a kind of a fun thing that I've kind of put together. So let's have a look real quick. So you'll see if we go down to my traits, it's a little bit unorthodox. I've got actually 30 in Soul Reaping. This is mostly so you can get this final trait here, which reduces my Death Shroud cooldown by 33%. I'll get to that later, why that's important. So basically, I've just chosen move faster in Death Shroud, as well as Life Force drain slower while in Death Shroud. Both actually adept traits, but I really like this move faster one just because it helps you zip around the map a little bit quicker, capping things and escaping enemies a bit better. Otherwise, in Death Magic, I've got lose condition when you enter Death Shroud. This is important because we'll actually be able to jump in and out of Death Shroud quite often, which will allow us to trigger these on Death Shroud abilities real quick. So the next one I've got there is applying Spinal Shivers to enemies near you while you enter Death Shroud. So similarly, again, by spamming in and out of Death Shroud, you're going to be able to cast these spells on enemies and receive buffs and put conditions on them. I've also got an extra 5 in Death Magic just to get the extra 10% toughness into power. This gives me an extra about 150 power just based on my toughness, which is kind of good. It's better than putting 5 points up in spite, which would only give me 50. Then again, we've got curses over here, so this gives you a bit of critical damage, that sort of thing. Of course, you're going to want the cast Enfeeble while entering Death Shroud. Again, another ability which is a Death Shroud trigger. And then also we've got Gain Fury while entering Death Shroud. And this one's actually quite important due to what items I'm actually equipped right now. So as for skills, if you look down here, I've got the Axe and Warhorn, as well as the Staff in the separate slot. So I like to use the Staff because you get a lot of long range out of it. You can also be very tactical by placing your marks in sort of key locations and things like that. They're also great for doing AoE damage. And then over here, I've got Consume Conditions. This one's pretty standard. Most people are actually using this right now because it gives you a quick heal. That's not going to, you don't have to cast the minion and then consume the minion, so it's a bit quicker that way. I've got Blood is Power purely because this is going to give me actually a 20% life force jump when I use it. So basically, if you need a quick Death Shroud, what you can do is just pump a Blood is Power. That'll give you plenty of life force and you'll be able to get in Death Shroud no problem. Then I've got Sign of the Locust, again going with the movement speed type build. This is going to allow me to zip around the map real quick, escape enemies as well as chase enemies. It's just a personal preference sort of thing. You could do whatever you like. And then finally up here we've got Signet of the Undeath, which is basically going to generate life force while you're in combat. This is just to help you be able to get in and out of Death Shroud a lot quicker. And of course finally Lich Form. This one's pretty standard. Most people are looking at this. So anyway, in terms of items, I'm using of Rage at the moment. This is basically going to give me extra crit and crit damage while under the effects of Fury. So because of my traits in Soul Reaping, whenever I pop Death Shroud, I'm going to get a Fury buff. So the idea is that you jump in and out of Death Shroud a lot to trigger those buffs quite often. And then over here for my amulet, I've got the Berserkers. This is basically just to deal a bit more damage. You've got power and precision there, a bit of vitality. For my weapons, I've actually got 60% chance to remove a boon on critical. I find this is pretty useful, especially when you're coming up against enemies like guardians and things like that, which rely heavily off boons to stay alive and annoy the hell out of your team. Again, on the Warhorn, I've just got this small one here, which gives you a bit of energy, well, endurance when you switch to it in combat. So that's always easy. If you need a quick speed buff, you can always switch to the Warhorn, which will give you that extra roll, and it'll also give you that Swarm of Locusts, which allows you to move a bit quicker. And then on my staff, I've just got of Ice, so if you do a critical hit, it'll put 2 seconds of freeze. I quite like it because long range you'll be able to basically slow your foes and also do, you know, screw them up a little bit by delaying their skills. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I'll just have to get onto some gameplay now, so enjoy that, guys. Hello everyone, this is Rapsac, and I'm feeling a lot better than I was at 3 or 4 AM when I recorded this footage. So I apologize a little bit about that, but here we're going to get onto some action. So this is my Death Shroud focused build. The idea behind this build is that you have a reduced Death Shroud cooldown, which comes from the 30 points into the Soul Reaping trait line. This comes in handy because of abilities such as the Enfeeble and Spinal Shivers, as well as the Fury buff, which all trigger upon entering Death Shroud. That is going to be the main focus of this build. These abilities are actually abilities that belong to the dagger and to the focus offhands. So by triggering Death Shroud, you're able to cast these abilities onto your foes without having to actually have these weapons in your arsenal. It basically gives you free spells to cast every 6.66 seconds if you're able to pop Death Shroud on every cooldown. This comes in grateful handy, apparently because it is pretty much the strongest combo for a Necromancer at the moment. I've seen most of the Necromancers running this style at the moment. It seems to be just so powerful that it seems to be the main focus of Necromancer build at this point in time. So if you're in a team situation, you're able to pop into Death Shroud and not only cast these abilities on one foe, but also on multiple foes. This gives great synergy when casting it with the Life Drain ability, which is of course the final Death Shroud ability, to give you great AoE damage. So because this is not a condition build, it's relying off pure damage out of having high power as well as having high precision. This lends itself to having Lich Form as the ultimate, elite spell. This is great because you're able to do damage of upwards to 3,000 to 4,000 damage per shot and able to take down targets quite quickly. Again, the idea behind this build is that you're able to output a lot of damage due to high precision and high power, but at the same time you're also having a large amount of toughness. These extra points into toughness give you more power based on how much toughness you have, but also make your character a lot stronger to resisting damage overall. As opposed to getting vitality, which is going to increase your health pool, this is going to actually make it harder for your health pool to go down. So this is going to come in handy when you're fighting foes that are outputting straight damage. Like you see in this shot here, if you're taking a lot of condition damage, then that's going to be your downfall. In that case, you're going to want to swap out one of the signets for the Well of Power ability, which will give you transform all your conditions into boons as soon as you walk into it every 2 seconds. That is a great counter to conditions, but if you're coming up against straight damage, you're going to want to have a lot of toughness. The build focuses around using a couple of signets. These signets can easily be replaced out for perhaps more useful or more conditional abilities. The signet of the Locust is purely so you're able to zip around the map a lot quicker. This will get you from capture point to capture point, as well as being able to chase and escape from foes quickly. This also comes in handy when you're in Death Shroud. It stacks with the trait that gives you increased movement speed within Death Shroud, making it really easy to evade or chase your foes while in that form. The signet of the Undeath is a optional signet. I like to use it purely because it gives you a passive life force generation while inside of combat. It's a great way to generate life force if you're jumping into battle straight away as Lich Form, as soon as you come out you will have about a 10% life force pool able to cast Death Shroud as soon as you come out, which will give you some great AoE damage from those on Death Shroud triggering abilities. It's probably more viable to switch this out, although I like using it for the fun factor, as well as being able to use the staff from a long range while staying in combat due to you hitting foes, even though literally you're pretty much out of combat, you're away from the fight. Again, that's why I've got the staff in my second weapon slot. I've got the staff pretty much for AoE and long range damage. It's great if you're coming up against a capture point and there's about 2 or 3 foes there. You're able to lay down some marks and do some damage quite nicely. Other than that, the Axe Warhorn combo is simply put the highest damaging combo outside of condition damage with the Scepter. It's great because it gives you not only high damage, but it also gives you a great amount of life force with the Ghastly Claws ability, as well as being able to just output high single target damage. The Warhorn has been great because with the Daze effect you're able to stun an opponent, and in a one versus one situation it's very handy to have. Anyway, the other ability I'm using is of course Blood is Power. This is pretty much in the build for one reason only, and that is because it gives you a instant 20% life force boost. It's fantastic because you can pretty much just jump into combat, or whenever you need it, you're able to get a 20% life force boost, which will give you enough to get into Death Shroud in and out a couple of times. Again, spamming Death Shroud as much as you can is the key to this build. I apologize for any of this footage being a little bit sloppy. It was recorded quite early in the morning, so please bear with me. Anyway, that's all about I have to say. If you have any more questions about the build, please post them down in the description, and we'll talk to you about that as soon as we can. And as always, stay tuned.